Hey VC, it's Joel coming at you from Planet 13, and this is my vinyl pickups for January 2021. There aren't that much, so I'm just going to babble for a bit, and if you just want to see what I picked up, skip ahead. But what I wanted to talk about, I had two things. One is that I'm not going to buy as many records in 2021, hopefully that's the plan, than I did in the past. And there's a few reasons why I'm doing this, and the major reason is I wasn't contributing enough to my retirement fund. I think the rule of thumb is that you're supposed to put in about 15% of your income into retirement before tax, and I wasn't doing that. I wasn't hitting that mark. I was at about 10%. So I've bumped it up to 20%, so that's a little less money to spend. I still have enough money to buy vinyl left over, but it doesn't leave enough money for other fun things or things I should be saving for, like a car. I'll need a new car eventually. Not a new car, but a used car, which costs money, and emergency funds for like a furnace or roof repair, all that stuff, right? So I gotta be a little smarter with my money. Number two is I just have too many vinyl. In my opinion, you really can't have enough vinyl, honestly, but there's not enough time to listen to all your vinyl. And I found there's some albums I hadn't touched in 3 years, and I've only been collecting for 3 years. And there's some albums I just really have no interest in listening to again. Maybe in 3, 5 years I'll want to listen to them, but right now, no interest. So I don't consider those maybe albums that I should have bought. Who knows? Maybe there's always this thing where you sell something, you always kind of regret it. So who knows, right? But again, this is just a personal choice for me. So what I've done, I've just set up an account where I throw $100 in it every month, and I can, if there's money in that account, I can buy an album. If there isn't, I can't. And if there's money left over, I can use that in the months coming up. So that's my plan, and I think it just will make me make better purchasing decisions in what I buy. That's the plan. So I'm just gonna buy albums that are really important to me, and with the vinyl community, which I love, and I love watching videos, I was falling into the trap of FOMO, fear of missing out. I'd see people show these albums, and I'd be like, I really need that album, and I'd buy it, and the album was great and everything, but there is no missing out. It's kind of an illusion, in my opinion, and I could be wrong with this, but I think, yeah, and I think most of us would agree. I mean, the vinyl trend is still trending upwards, but eventually I think it's gonna fall. And one reason why I think this is it's a trend, right? Trends eventually dip, and I don't know how far it'll dip, but I think a lot of people will fall off the trend of buying vinyl because a lot of kids are buying vinyl, right? And they'll realize, like we did when we got rid of our albums when we were younger, for us old fogies, we got rid of them because we had to raise a family, we had to move, we didn't want to move all this stuff around, we needed the money to buy diapers and stuff, we needed money to buy a house, we had a job promotion where we had to move to somewhere else, and you just couldn't carry all these albums with us. So I think, we'll see a lot of albums again at garage sales, the secondary market, filling up the bins. So I don't think there is fear of missing out. And I think even with rare records, if there's money to be made, it'll eventually get repressed. And we're seeing a lot of things being repressed lately that people were kind of paying a lot of money for. Case in point, the new Dio albums from Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules are coming out soon. Deluxe editions, right? They're getting repressed, and those commanded quite a bit of money on the secondary market, $100, $200, whatever. So I'm just not going to fall into that trap. For me, that's my personal thing. If I don't care what you do, I enjoy watching people spend their money, so I'm not judging anyone. I love seeing people spend money showing vinyl. I think it's great. No judgment. Again, this is just my personal philosophy, which I'll probably fail at miserably because I'm a collector at heart. But hopefully I can stick to a plan. Another thing I want to talk about was this. I found this ad. I cut this out in 1997, I believe. It was Kiss was playing My City, and I stuck it in my desk at home. And when I lived with my parents, I had this desk that used to be my dad's. My dad used to work at CN Rail in Hamilton, Ontario, and they were renovating it. My dad was retiring, so they let him take his desk with him, and it's an old tanker desk. It's an industrial kind of steel desk. It's probably built in the 30s and 40s. The thing is bomb-proof. I'd show it to you, but it's kind of packed in this room. I wouldn't get a good angle. It's got like a nice leather top, and it's stuck at my parents' house because the thing's a beast. It weighs a lot. It's very, very heavy. It probably weighs 300-400 pounds because it's just made out of lead, right? It's like an old fridge. And I eventually bought a house, and I never like asking people to help me move, but eventually my brother helped me move the desk, and it took about 3 years after I moved into my house, and I was just going through the drawers, and I found this, this Kiss thing that I clipped out, and I distinctly remember clipping this out. So it was the first time they reunited, and they played Hamilton that year. And then what I wanted to talk about was about 3 years later, they played Hamilton again. They played Detroit Rock City. And Hamilton is a very popular place to film movies. We're in Canada, we're in Ontario, we're next to Toronto. The train station my dad actually worked at, they filmed a lot of movies there. They filmed A Long Kiss Goodnight, which is an old Samuel L. Jackson movie. And they filmed the first X-Men movie there. And I think they filmed one of the Hulk movies with Edward Norton. Quite a lot of stuff is filmed there. And just down the road, we have something called Copps Colosseum. It's not called that anymore, but they filmed Detroit Rock City there. And they filmed the scene where they play the song Detroit Rock City in the movie. And I was part of that. I was, I guess, 23 at the time. I had long brown hair down to my butt. There were some rules you had to do. You couldn't wear like vintage Kiss shirts unless they were from that specific era or before. So I remember one guy, he wore a Gene outfit from Dynasty, and I remember Gene Simmons kicked him out. Gene like pointed from stage, and he's like, you got to go. Like, he was rude about it. It was not polite. And he did that with a few other people, which I thought was rude, but I could see why they did that. But with the camera shots, I don't think anyone would have saw. You can't see me in the movie. And I remember we got in at 2. I lined up around noon, and we got in at 2. And then for 3.5 hours, they just fed us pop and grilled cheese sandwiches. And then eventually we got into the arena, and there was a warm-up band who played Detroit Rock City live, and they were okay. And then the director came out, I think it's Adam Rifkin. He came out and he explained what we're going to do. He's like, okay, the band's just going to lip sync and just go wild. And that's what happened. I guess everyone kind of went wild. And the funny part is that Ace kept messing up. So like the first time, they had to be on these like risers or something, and Ace kept falling off, or he was stumbling, or he couldn't hit his mark. He ruined every shot for a few hours. And it was comedic, and we didn't mind because we liked Kiss at the time, but it was just, by hour 8, everyone was kind of tired, and I left about midnight. There was some other things that I remember. After I left, I think I had a buddy who stayed, and he didn't get out till about 3. So I might not even be in the movie. They might have actually got the right shot they wanted between midnight and 3. But I had to work and the next day, and I was just exhausted. But it was fun. I remember Ace's daughter was in the center, like at the front of the stage, and they'd raised her up in between takes. And I remember Paul really messed up. Paul yelled out, hey, thanks for coming, Toronto. And everyone kind of booed him because it was Hamilton, which, to be fair, I mean, a lot of people were from Toronto. A lot of people traveled from Toronto and Buffalo in the States to see this show. So, yeah, I just wanted to kind of recollect on that. It was just a unique experience. This is a pretty good soundtrack. It's mostly classic tunes. But there is a Kiss song on here, which is basically just a Paul Stanley song. Nothing Can Keep Me From You. I don't think it's on the box set. I don't think it's on anywhere else. But if you're a diehard Kiss fan, it's probably worth seeking out. And it's, I guess it's Kiss's take on I Don't Want to Miss a Thing by Aerosmith. And it's a pretty good tune, but it's got that cheese factor of I Don't Want to Miss a Thing by Aerosmith. I think the same co-writer, I forget the person's name, that co-wrote that with Steve Tyler, but that's the same co-writer with Paul Stanley on this. Anyway, let's get to the vinyl. So the first album I picked up with my $100, Aerosmith's Rocks. I wanted this for quite some time. It's a goal of mine to get every Aerosmith album, at least up until their 2000s output. And I'm glad I picked this up. I had this on cassette as a kid. I love this album. Love it. It sounds great. Very happy I picked it up. Not much to say about this. It's pressed on 180 grams. It's like the record store day release. Sounds amazing. Not much to it, not much in packaging. You get the inner little poster, and then it's just anti-static sleeve. So glad I got that. Not used, brand new. Next one I picked up, Jeff recommended, that he didn't really recommend this album, but I got it for a great deal, Jeff, so don't be too hard on me. Jeff from Various Vinyl. I got this for $15. Brand new, 180 grams, Stone Temple Pilots, purple, just on standard black. And they sold it to me for $15. This record store, they got a bunch of deleted albums, and because it has this like slight crease in the top, they could discount it to $15. And $15 Canadian is like 10 American, so very cheap, very cheap. For a good album. Like, it cost me more on CD. I think I like this album a little more than Jeff. I was a little younger, a couple years younger than Jeff, so I was like 20 when this came out, and it was a big hit. I remember going to nightclubs, and Vaseline was a big hit. They played a lot. And then there's The Big Empty on this, which is a great song. It's off the Crow soundtrack. And there's another kind of bluesy song on here that I love. I'll be honest, I don't know the other songs that well, but they sound great to me. And when I hear them, I kind of go, oh yeah, that song. So I'm glad I picked that up. Next album I picked up, and I bought this because I saw a lot of people, they reviewed their 2020s, their favorite albums of 2020 that were new, that came out that year. Thank you for all those people who put it out. It was very helpful for me. I like that style of video. And it was Stryper's latest. And I didn't have any Stryper in my collection. I had a buddy who was into Stryper as a kid. I had nothing against Stryper. I'm actually religious, or grew up religious. I grew up Pentecostal. And my church didn't want me listening to Stryper, so I didn't at the time. But I listened to Motley Crue and Iron Maiden, so whatever. Not that those are satanic bands, but they had the satanic imagery, I guess. And you can tell this came out in 2021 because they have, or 2020 because they have the masks going on there, which I thought was rather clever. I like that shot a lot. It's humorous, but relevant. And this album's awesome. Everyone's saying this is like Stryper's best album ever that they've ever put out. They've been on like a roll lately, like the last 3 albums, which I really need to check out. And I should check out. But yeah, this is just uplifting, positive music. It's not overly religious. Like, even if you told me they weren't or were a religious band, you wouldn't really get that from this, other than just kind of there are some gospel touches in some places, not like directly gospel, but just kind of choir like in some spots. I just got this yesterday, but I love it. This is awesome. This is awesome. And yeah, there's the label for that. Very good, very excellent. If you're on the fence, I'd suggest picking this up. It's good. It's really good. Excellent stuff. Fourth album I picked up. I pre-ordered this a long time ago. It finally arrived. It's Offspring's Conspiracy of One. It's got a nice glossy cover. I'm cheating here. This doesn't count towards my 100 because I did pre-order it and I paid for it in November, and it finally arrived today. Not my favorite Offspring album, but I love the artwork on it. So I canceled this and a couple times, and I figured I had to go through with it because I listened to the album on Spotify, and I'm like, it's not a bad album. It's my favorite's the second one. That's my favorite. But this is like kind of punky, kind of like, you know those movies like American Pie, they play this kind of stuff in the background. What was the deciding factors? It came with a slip mat. I thought that was cool. I love special features. It wasn't a very expensive album, so I love that it came with a slip mat. I need one, kind of. My other one's boring. And then the packaging's pretty cool. Get a nice inner sleeve. And then finally, the album is awesome. It's like an orange and yellow splatter. And it's kind of transparent, so when you put it on the on this, I forget what it's called, brain fart, you can kind of see the skull through it. You can't really see it through here, but on the turntable, you can kind of see it a lot better. So I thought that was really cool. And then the final album picked up, again, it just arrived today. It's Pantera's latest. I've listened to all of them once, and they all sound great. It's Pantera's album, Reinventing the Steel. I've never had this. I'm a big Pantera fan to a degree. I've seen them live about 5 or 6 times. They were always fantastic live. but I'm always kind of a hits guy with Pantera. I don't like their deeper cuts. Someone will probably unsubscribe me for saying that, but I love their hits, and their deeper cuts I tend to skip through. I'm sorry. Maybe that'll change once I get their stuff on vinyl and listen to them a little more. But this is really well packaged. I've got the hype sticker on the sleeve here, so you can kind of see what that says. So nice anti-static sleeves. These are just on like a silvery gray vinyl, which is nice. And then, like I said, the album cover, it's kind of got the raised tread mark on the steel. And you get the original cover, which is what prevented me from buying this. As shallow as that is, I hate this cover. I think this cover sucks. And I think a lot of people do too. I think it's just stupid. So I never bought it. And then you get a nice secondary inner sleeve here too, with the second cut on black vinyl. And so this is the original album, and they do some cover songs on here. They do, as well, they do Electric Funeral by Black Sabbath, Electric Radio Mix, Revolution is My Name, Radio Edit, Hole in the Sky, Black Sabbath, Cat Scratch Fever by Ted Nugent, and that is actually on the Detroit Rock City album as well. Anyway, that wraps up my vinyl pickups for January. Until next time, cheers.